and whistles. But we will hopefully get that all sorted out by Monday. Okay. So, good morning to everyone. Let me just at least grab my links for our listeners here this morning on social media. So, we do have people on YouTube and Facebook also joining us. And then we'll have to sort out the rest of it later on. Modern technology, you gotta love it. We changed some things up, and yeah, we'll eventually get there. All right. So, how is everyone doing today? Happy Friday. We've got quite a bit to talk about this morning. You guys know I'm kind of fighting, it looks like a little bit of a head cold. So you guys will see me having some real tea this morning. All right. So I guess everyone can at least hear me, even if you can't hear anything else on the board at the moment. That's fine. We shall eventually get there. Good morning to Miss Vernita. Good morning to Diamond Princess. Miss Juanita is here. Vanessa is also here. And we've got Damien and tons of other people. Joy Linax says it's evening. Well, in the Cayman Islands, it is morning. So happy Friday to all of you. We're going to get this show okay, on the road here shortly. For some reason I can't really hear myself either. So I think we need to, there we go. I think fanciness, my dear. We went a little bit with additional features, of course. That means that we'll get it sorted out. All right. Melita, good morning. You little brat says good morning. It's all good on YouTube, but can't see you anywhere else. No, we're on Facebook. So social media should be fine, except I can't play anything in the background. So I can't play the news today and actually have you hear it. So we are going to get that sorted out a bit later on. So Marshall is also joining us from North Carolina. So let's talk about a few things this morning. First of all, there's quite a bit of stuff that was happening in the news yesterday, which we can start to have a discussion about, including, but certainly not limited to, the fact that we had some Caymanians who were laid off. So we're going to probably kick off the show talking about that. So I should warn you that unfortunately the phone lines are probably not going to be operational this morning either because of this issue. I mean, I can hear you, but nobody else will be able to hear you. So that would certainly defeat the point of that. So yesterday morning, we've got First Lady Jan also with us. Miss Wee Wee is here. Good morning to Easy Pay. Yes, yeah, you guys can hear me. You just wouldn't be able to hear anything else. Thank you so much, First Lady. Tina Marie is here. She's reminding everyone about the recruitment drive today at 3 p.m. to 7 for the Cayman Islands Fire Service. So this is really important. I know they had the one on the BRAC yesterday. Tina, can you tell us how the one on the BRAC went? What was the turnout like? Hopefully a lot of people attended. So the Cayman Islands Fire Service is obviously, one of our essential services here in the Cayman Islands. They're not the only one. I'm reminded that EMT, provides an excellent service, and there's tons of essential services here. So if anyone is looking for employment where you can contribute to your country, you can give something back and still have a career and make a career out of it, then the Cayman Islands Fire Service is obviously one of those such entities that exists. And, we should encourage anyone who wants to find out more about those particular services to do so. So I'm going to see if we can find out any details about yesterday's recruitment drive in Cayman Brac. But in the meantime, if you're here in Grand Cayman, please go out to Spots Dock at 3 p.m. from 3 to 7, and they will have obviously management there, and they'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what different positions and career paths are available in the Cayman Islands Fire Service. We've got the fire service, we've got the police. Lots of people complain that there's no opportunities out there. But folks, if you don't actually go out there and try it, you will not know what opportunities are actually available. So that's the first step, is by you doing your part. So yes, go and have a look and see what they're up to. And if we have a chance today, Tina, we're gonna pop by and see how things are going. I've been kind of limiting my contact to people as much as possible, because I am having this looks like a little bit of a head cold here. So no COVID, no COVID, knock on wood, no COVID yet. So no phone lines today, because again, we're having a little bit of a technical issue that I need to get sorted out in terms of who can actually hear me. Um, Thought I had it all figured out, folks. But all right. So good morning to Alice. They're looking for some volunteers to clean up at the hospice entrance of the hospice tomorrow. Little Brat says if anyone's available, you can call 917-9034. And this is the hospice on West Bay Road. Which hospice is this? I think that's the only hospice that I'm aware of. So I just want to make sure that are we on the same path here in terms of exactly where that hospice is? Yeah. Thank you so much, First Lady. Yeah, it just seems like it's just a little bit of a head cold, really. The sore throat is by and large gone now, so that's good. And yeah, it's just like sinuses, really. All right. So yesterday morning, we discovered, unfortunately, that some Caymanians had been laid off from Fidelity Bank. Oh, Lord, this is it's challenging, and I saw some of the comments online in relation to this, and I must say that I'm a little bit disappointed sometimes in how people think, So here's what we know. We are aware that 4 Caymanians have been laid off, senior level managers from Fidelity Bank. Some of them have been there for 35 years. I think one person was 35 years. Another person was 34 years. And one person was 23 or 24 years. And then the last person was recently with the organization for just maybe like 3 years or so. So I think the biggest issue here really is how it was done. So, we have to be fair to companies as much as we possibly can. And I'm a bit perplexed as to how this happens, like time and time again. You would think that HR managers would be in a position to actually learn, a thing or two. And yet it seems like that just isn't happening. Ugh. Well, every single time we kind of say the same thing, that sometimes it's not what you do, it is honestly how you do it. And so, does someone have a right to lay off someone even after 100 years? They've been working for you. Yes. At any point in time, you have the right to say to someone, your services are no longer required. I think where the issue lies is in that, number one, you terminate pretty much all of your senior Caymanian employees. No real explanation except that they're being made redundant. I want to talk about exactly what that means here in a minute, in a legal sense. I really wish my phone lines were working, because I could do with a little help with employment law, which I studied quite a number of years ago. But I'm certainly no expert in. But I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, that it's really, really unfortunate that they can't do it in a manner that allows the person to preserve some level of their own dignity. And I think that that's really where this is problematic. Well, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by, preserving your dignity? Well, what I mean is that, you know, if someone decides to terminate you after 35 years on the job, and I want to talk about garden leave here in a second, exactly what that means and how that works. The manner in which you do it, you have to have a certain degree of sensitivity, right? So again, my position isn't that these people can't be terminated. I mean, obviously by law they can be, but how do you terminate them? And then you turn around and you're hiring all sorts of people in the organization, because that leads me to ask another logical question, which would be, is it really a situation where is it really a situation where, quite frankly, you couldn't have put them somewhere else in the organization? Proven Investment acquired Fidelity Bank. And so in their acquisition of the bank, they are making some changes. Again, we expect that to happen. But what we don't expect to happen is when the company has a meeting just a couple months ago and they say there will be no immediate changes to the structure of how the bank is operating, and it's going to be business as usual. And then all of a sudden staff is seeing people coming in on work permits, and then you let go four of your top key management employees. That is where the issue lies. Right? So the issue doesn't lie in, oh, okay, we need to cut some fat from the organization and we're going to let go some of our top earners. It's that how can you justify letting those individuals go when you have literally just hired other people on work permits? So anyone who's part of the Proven Investment Organization, I don't know who those individuals are. This is what we're talking about when we say that there's a disconnect and there's a certain amount of just lack of corporate sensitivity that exists. How do you justify that? I mean, I don't understand it. Now, when you make someone redundant, it's actually not the person that you're making redundant. It is the position that you're actually making redundant. So allow me to try to understand and comprehend exactly how this works, right? So is Proven Bank trying to say that they do not require a VP of operations? These are the positions that are gone now, right? So they got rid of the VP of operations there for 34 years. They got rid of the assistant manager of operations there for 35 years, the banking retail manager there for 23 years, and the remediation manager. So Fidelity is saying that those positions are no longer required at their bank. I mean, I don't understand that. How can you have a bank and not have an assistant manager of operations or the vice president of operations? So from at least that department, you had two people that you essentially cut. Does that mean that the entire operations department disappears? Or how are you going to operate? I don't know exactly what those individuals did, but it seems to me that those individuals would have been pretty critical. Those, not the individuals per se, but the positions would have been very, very critical positions to have in the organization. Banking retail manager. So the bank no longer needs a retail manager. They're going to get rid of retail. Are they coming out of banking retail altogether and they're going to just do something else? So, those are some of the questions that I have that I have questions about, and I don't know about anybody else, but if somebody else can explain it to me, I would love to hear exactly what the position is. I honestly, I'm at a complete loss for how this is going to work for Fidelity. So they hired a new CEO recently. I don't know who Christopher Williams is, but apparently he's the one who had a meeting with staff in a recent staff meeting and told them that, because people get very, very uncomfortable when there are acquisitions that happen uh, where foreign entities come into largely quote unquote Caymanian operated entities and sort of take over. Here's an example. There's been quite a lot of movements with the Canadian banks in the Cayman Islands, but even Cayman National Bank, you guys remember a couple years ago, Cayman National Bank was essentially acquired majority share by, oh, what's the company name again? Out of Trinidad. I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me in a second, right? And of course, they're concerned because normally those companies that take over have their own staff overseas, and they're more likely than not trying to protect those positions. It was a Trinidad Bank Republic Financial Holdings took over Cayman National, right? And there are always concerns when this happens. I think Scotia had a recent acquisition as well. And when it happens, people are like, okay, what's going to happen to the jobs here in Cayman? Because the majority shareholder, the parent company, is now a foreign entity that oftentimes will be protecting the interest of their staff overseas, first and foremost. And they will actually bring their employees here into this jurisdiction on work permits and push Caymanians out of the rules. And that really is where the issue and the question lies, if this is what is happening at Fidelity Bank. Because that can't be. Now, I must say that my observations thus far, and I really hope that CNB does not change, has been that although I think a lot of people left CNB of their own accord because maybe they were just uncomfortable about what was going to happen to their position, they thought, well, if they're greener pastures somewhere else right now, that I think is a definite thing, let me jump into that particular space and see what I can do. Some Caymanians did leave CNB during or shortly after the acquisition, but there doesn't seem to have been any large movement by Fidelity Bank, by my apologies, Republic Bank, to actually get rid of anyone in the CNB, the local organizations. Now they have consolidated. So, for example, they've closed Buckingham Square, which made sense because you had Camata Bay, which is like literally across the street. So, from an operational perspective, that didn't really make a lot of sense. But CNB took those individuals who worked there and were able to absolve them into the organization elsewhere. So they were able to utilize them at one of the other branches, and they just kind of shifted and moved things around. So I think that in a situation like that, people don't have any criticism. So again, it's not often what you do, it's really how you go about executing it and what you actually do to your Cayman employees. So it's a sad day for what's happening at Fidelity Bank. Unfortunately, the morale there yesterday, after a lot of people found out what happened, was really, really shocking. Now, I get it. When you're in a position such as this, and you have someone who is, a long-standing employee of the company, and you have to get rid of them, that's an emotional situation. People feel that, right? So the staff are feeling it, and people were literally in tears, and it's understandable. It's understandable that people are going to be upset and that they're not going to necessarily understand what's happening. The management, the CEO at Fidelity Bank, I'm surprised that they don't have the people skills to be able to understand that people were going to literally be crying over this, right? And they didn't prepare staff in any way, shape, or form. Now, listen, when you have to get rid of an employee that has been with you, sometimes it's not even about the duration of time, but they know your inner works, they know your operations, they know everything, right? The immediate response is they're obviously going to be upset, and you've got to put them on what's called gardening leave. So gardening leave is essentially where when they terminate your employment for whatever reason, or even sometimes you resign, they will say, listen, you go right now. You pack your stuff and you're out the door. It's not necessarily that they're trying to be mean about it. Sometimes it's just a matter of protecting themselves. So, for example, um, if they have proprietary stuff that they have to be concerned about, or people going to do stuff like an email, like you've seen all these epic stories, right? Where someone gets terminated and they still have access to their email, and they go and send out. They go out and send out like a message to everyone, like, "Oh, I hate this company, and the company should burn to the ground," and blah 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 blah. Blah. And no company wants that type of energy when someone is leaving. So it is a very common practice to put, especially senior managers, who again have access to, corporate sensitive stuff, on gardening leave immediately when they're separating from the company. It just happened the other day over at Flow. The marketing lady's leaving. She tendered her resignation that she was leaving to go over to Logic, and Flow was like, "Okay, bye bye." IT, the same second they're telling you bye bye, it's like they call IT, lock everything down, and we put you in gardening leave, and they'll pay you for the duration of whatever that gardening leave period is. So if it's 6 months notice that you would have had to have given, they'll make you sit home for 6 months, and you do whatever the heck you want, but they don't want you within the company, within the organization. So that's understandable, and there's a reason why companies do it. And I don't necessarily have any issues with that. But I think even in a situation like this, is it not something that could have been like, okay, you're making them redundant? Or like I said, it's actually the position that you're making redundant and not supposed to be the individual. Are you not able to go to these individuals and say, here are some of the corporate changes that are going to happen. We want to retire you after 35 years, right? Instead of making them redundant, which I mean, sometimes these are legal terms. We are going to offer you a nice separation package. Companies do this all the time. I was just thinking of Flow again. A couple years ago, they were going through some growing pains and they were letting a whole lot of people go. And they gave them an option, made an announcement in the organization. Listen, we need to cut some fat. Financially tough times. Can we offer you, how many of you want to consider an actual separation package? Right? They put it on the table. Here's what we can do. If we offer you a separation package, we're going to give you a little bit something extra if you've been here, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, whatever the case may be. And it's a different kind of feeling when you feel like you have some say in how you separate from the company, and giving people that option. I think it's really, really important. So, yeah, I think Fidelity got it wrong. I think they did it wrong. And, they really need to contemplate the impact that this is going to have, not just on the lives of 4 people, but those 4 people have family members that were relying on them. And they also have, an entire community now that is looking at Fidelity with less than the best eyes. And unfortunately, my apologies, my sinuses are getting congested again. I need to grab some tissue. But unfortunately, once again, Fidelity is in the limelight in a not so positive way. You guys will remember, this isn't the first time of us having to unfortunately talk about Fidelity here on the program. We had to talk about them before, during the COVID pandemic, when they were actually had their what was his name, Mr. Brett Hill, when he was in the Legislative Assembly talking down about, oh yeah, Caymanians just want to go buy a big screen TV, and that's why they want access to their pension funds. Oh, my apologies for having to blow my nose. Normally I'd be able to mute that, but like I said, some tech issues this morning means I have less functionality. Um, so yeah, I mean, he insulted us for more than one reason, but anyway, we're not going to go over his shenanigans again, right? Because he was going to go and sit down with Alden. He said, and have a drink and smooth it all over. So this is the problem. It's how you do it. You know, some of these companies have absolutely no regard for their local staff. And I guess at the end of the day, it's all about a buck here and a buck there. And they really don't care. Unfortunately, you know, unfortunately, it's the kind of thing in a community like Cayman, where your customers, which are oftentimes connected to these individuals in the community, will go, hold on a second here. Oh, you're that kind of bank? You're that type of organization that's going to let people go with no regard whatsoever for how you do it? You don't even have a conversation with them. It's just like, come in, you're out of here, pack your bags and go. If I had a bank account at Fidelity Bank, which thank God I don't, this morning, I would be moving my mortgage, my bank account. I would be sending them a really strong message about how I feel about them. And this is now where I want to talk about what you can do as consumers, right? Listen, there is a sense in all communities that corporations have some degree of responsibility, right? They're just not money-making machines. Whether it's the Amazons of the world, their workers are having to unionize. Starbucks has its first workers union now. Oh gosh, my apologies. Because you know, these organizations just don't know how to treat staff. Sometimes it's they don't know how to pay you well. Other times they don't want to give you, you know, certain rights that you are entitled to, or you're all the way down at the bottom of the totem pole as it relates to maternity leave and other things. So people get together and they form a workers union. Well, Cayman hasn't quite come around to that concept yet of how a workers union could work to benefit them. But I do believe, being the small community that we are, we can send very clear messages to corporate entities about their behavior. And so my response this morning would have been to talk to my whoever. I don't know how Fidelity does it, but if they have like a bank, you know, like a customer service person, whatever, I would be moving my assets. And if you're a customer with Fidelity Bank, I'm going to suggest that you think closely about what Fidelity Bank has just done to 4 Caymanian families, and whether or not that's the type of organization that you want to actually support. Ultimately, it's your decision. I'm telling you what I would do if I had a choice. And if I was at that bank this morning, I would be making some movements. They wouldn't have me as a small business owner. They wouldn't have me as a client. They're not going to sit down on a 20-year mortgage with me and make triple what the actual borrowed amount is on the mortgage. I would go and give that money to somebody else. Give it to CNB, give it to Scotiabank, although Scotiabank claims that they're Bank of the Year again. I'm just like, how the hell did that happen? Pick anybody else. Caymanians often feel like they have no power. And I think that they don't recognize, as Caymanians, when I say they, I mean we, don't recognize the little power that we do have when we do have it. And so even when we can do something, we are not exercising our power in, you know, a sensible or powerful way. Caymanians, get up. Get up off of your rear ends and send Fidelity a very clear message this morning that this is unacceptable. Now, somebody said, oh, well, maybe these people were not performing. After 35 years on the job, if it takes a Mr. who's the new CEO, Benjamin Freeman, to recognize that his top 4 managers are all not performing after being on the job for that long, I think something's wrong with the bank itself. If you have someone after 35 years who isn't performing to your standard, that's the conversation that you need to have. That's not, oh, we're going to make your position redundant. And then we're going to be taking out work permit applications for all these project managers that I'm hearing about, when in fact the project managers are acting in positions of sales at the bank trying to get new customers. Banks operate, listen, if banks don't have your money, if they don't have your business, they can't operate, right? This is how banking works. It's very simple. They need customers just like every other business. They're in the business of loaning money, but where do you think they get the money to loan? From other customers, right? So without customers, Fidelity Bank and any other bank for that matter has to go out there and actively look for new people. So they're always looking to take on, if you want a car loan, you want a mortgage, it is a competitive business. And they're competing against the likes of Fidelity, Scotia, not Fidelity, not themselves, Scotia, CNB, who else do we have? Royal Bank. But, more and more we see these banks encroaching on, it's almost like they don't want retail customers. I've noticed this about Royal Bank, which, by the way, someone called me, I think it was yesterday, the day before, to say, what's going on over at Royal Bank? Civil servants are supposed to get their pay, and here it is, 11 o'clock in the morning, and her salary isn't in the bank. And I said, well, where's your bank account? Where do you bank? At Royal Bank. And I said, well, what the heck is that? Because Royal Bank is the one who's actually doing the payments. Like, Royal Bank is government's bank. So, they should be the first ones to get paid, because there's no excuse. I mean, if you have to wire it over to like a civil servant that works at CNB, I can understand if there's an hour delay or something. But if you're with Royal Bank, how can there be a delay in you receiving your money as a civil servant? So people call me after the show. Sandy, my money isn't in the account and I've got bills to pay and I've got stuff to do and I don't understand what's going on. And because they didn't have online access, they're like, I'm having to constantly go and drive to the ATM machine to see if the funds are available. So yeah, I don't understand. Oh my gosh, my apologies for the congestion. I don't understand, why people they want to stay in retail bank, but then they're making it more and more difficult for their customers. Like they're charging you out the wazoo at the counter, all kind of counter fees. Like some of these banks, if you want to deposit money in your own bank account, they're charging you to do that. If you want to, cash a check now and you bank with some of these banks, they're going to charge you a fee to do. I mean, it is just ridiculous. More and more, they're making it so incredibly difficult for consumers to be customers, right? For you and I to be customers at these institutions. So Damien wants to know, were they compensated, pension, and at what age? It's extremely difficult to get employment elsewhere in the Cayman unless it's a government position. Well, these are all questions. I have no doubt that Fidelity will follow the letter of the law in terms of their redundancy. So when a company lets you go, it's 1 week for what's the salary? 1 week for every year, or whatever, up to 15 years. I think they have it capped at 15 years. That's the labor law that puts that cap in place. Let me just have a look. And I think we not been waiting on a new labor law to be enacted? Has this ever been done yet? I feel like okay, so we have something that was gazetted. This is a Labor Act revision. Let's see if we can see. But yeah, I mean, they cap it at 15 years. So what that means is the other, 20 years that these people have been with this organization, they're not going to get any severance for that because severance is capped, right? Let me just see here. I'm trying to remember. It's been a minute that, to be honest, I have not looked at the labor law. So part 5 talks about severance pay. So it says that every employee whose term of continuous employment with an employer has an aggregate exceeded 1 year is entitled to receive, in addition to any other payments which may be due upon termination of that person's employment contract. Let's see, severance pay being Payment in money calculated in accordance with this part. Yes. So bankruptcy, it's a little bit different. Severance pay shall be payable to an employee for the full period of the person's employment, including any period of employment prior to the first. Computation consists of 1 week's wages at the employee's latest basic wage for every completed 12-month period. So it's one week for every year. Yes. But didn't they cap it to 50 years, or is that my imagination? Or has that changed? I'm just having a quick look to see if I can find it. So if it's not capped, then that would be good, because at least they'll get 1 year times the 35 years. Severance pay where employer's business is transferred. Liability of predecessor and successor employees. So on a really quick glance, I don't see the 15-year cap, but I could be wrong. So yes, Damon, they will be paid in accordance with the Labor Act, undoubtedly. But I mean, you do the math. These people have mortgages, probably with Fidelity Bank. I hope to God they can move their mortgages. And all these other things, I don't know how old these individuals are. I don't know if they were anywhere close to retirement. But, if they still have 5 or 10 years worth of work in them, it's going to be quite challenging to find employment. So, what would have been nice if Fidelity wanted to make these positions redundant? Whatever mortgages they had left with the company, say it was 5 years left of the mortgage, they say, oh, as a benefit, we'll write that off for you. That would be the nice thing to do. But, like I said, these people are in business. They're not in the business of being nice. They're in the business of making money. So Jonathan says everyone knows that saying you're getting laid off is just a nice way of saying that you're fired. Well, these are all, sometimes they are legal terms, a termination versus redundancy, whatever. These are legal terms, and they will tell you that they're doing things in a particular way, or they're using a particular term for a reason. But, it's what did Shakespeare say about a rose by any other name is still a freaking rose? Like, seriously, right? Horse manure by any other name is still a horse manure. You can call it whatever you want. So this is part of the email that went out about, as a result of these organizational changes, we regret to advise that this person crossed it out, will no longer be with us in the coming days. They all have longstanding service to Fidelity, and I would like to thank them for their contributions over the many years. We wish them well. And then the remaining leadership will remain unchanged. Well, for how long is probably what those people who are left are thinking. So they say that it's organizational changes. But, you couldn't even have a little farewell ceremony. I get the logistics of the gardening leave part of things, but you didn't even allow people who were there to properly say goodbye, get them a little cake, have a little party, nothing. This is it. Oh yeah, they're leaving. We're switching up the organization. They've been long serving. Thanks, we appreciate it. Well, in my mind, this is certainly not how you show your appreciation, not by any stretch of the imagination. Izzy says, so sudden and no notice. Nope. It was like, clean out your desk. Zambula Wait says sad and wrong all at the same time. Good morning, Miss Beulah. Zambula says that they need to do better. First Lady says, I could sit and listen to you all day. You speak facts. Well, folks, it is a sad indictment, I think, on the organizations themselves and the leadership of those organizations, that despite the fact that we've spoken facts on this platform for over 2 years now, if you've followed us on social media, the show has been strong for over 2 years. And, it's happened before. We've had this conversation before. We've been here. And I keep saying, it's all about how you do certain things, right? You have a right to reorganize your organization. And as I said, that happens a lot when you're merging entities and you've got too many employees between the two entities. In this jurisdiction, it should be about protecting Caymanian workers first. Okay. So now I want to talk about works, the political response to this, and immigration, and what those individuals should be saying and should be doing at this particular time. So, if you are a politician, no doubt you probably tuned in or you have somebody else listening for you. The same way that a Brett Hill during the COVID pandemic could say that he's going to call Alden McLaughlin about the pension, the state of pensions in the Cayman Islands, right? Brett Hill had that kind of power in our country, and I don't give a damn how long he's been here. He said it in the Legislative Assembly. I'm going to call Alden McLaughlin. I'm going to have a conversation with him. I'm going to give him my professional opinion, and we need to sort this out. Great. It's a free country, and we're glad that now that you are a status holder, you are exercising your democratic right to be part of this community. As a Caymanian, you are able to speak with the premier of this country and put some pressure on him about whatever your position was over drinks, as you said. Now, I don't need to sit down and have a drink with any of my elected officials to tell them that I'm unhappy with the situation and that something needs to be done. Oh my gosh, my sincere apologies for my sinuses. It's like the more I talk, the more I agitate it as well, right? Oh gosh. But I want our elected officials to understand, I'm here. I should have taken the day off from work, right? But when you're the boss, you don't get a sick day. But I'm here with a cold and all, telling you guys that this really upsets me, and I'm not happy with organizations being able to do this and get work permits approved. That's a problem, my friends. They want to make Caymanians redundant. Guess what? You better not step foot in here talking about you need any position whatsoever on a work permit for the next 2 to 3 years. Really? You come back, oh, you need a head of sales, whatever. Oh, no, you don't. That retail banking manager, you could have transitioned her over easily to head of sales. Oh, you want a new CEO? Well, guess what? You had a Caymanian who was in a position for 35 years with Fidelity Banking. God knows if you've been with a company for 35 years and you're not in the position of being the CEO of the company, something might be wrong. No one's ever prepared you for that. But my response as a government would be like, yeah, y'all better figure it out. You better give her that CEO title and salary. And then, you come back to us later on with your work permit requests. These organizations know how to play the government officials for a fool. Because I understand someone said to me that they were told by one of the ministers that they had assurances that there would be no redundancies. Well, the employees had that assurance too, but obviously that was worth the scribbled paper it was written on, which is like nothing. No Caymanians would be replaced, is what the person said. Yeah, they haven't replaced them, they just fired them. So again, semantics, right? Let's play with the words here. We're going to make those positions redundant. No, honey child. If you just came into this country, Proven Holdings, whatever the heck your name is, and you want to make positions redundant, you make it redundant on the other side of the organization. Where's Proven Bank from, by the way? Proven Holdings. Which jurisdiction are they from? You make things redundant over there. You don't bring it into this jurisdiction. I think they're Bahamian. And let me see. I could be wrong on that. Hold on. Proven Bank Holdings. Let me see where they're from. So you don't come into this jurisdiction and make our people redundant and things harder on Caymanians when we're on the verge of a recession, and we're going through all these other things at the moment. Is Proven, are they Jamaican? Where are they from? I don't even know. It doesn't really matter. I just know that they're not a Caymanian entity up until recently. I suppose they probably had to get a license. So Proven is, I'm just trying to look closely at their website. So 5 months and 2 weeks ago, they made this big announcement that they were acquiring Fidelity. So it says here that Proven subsidiaries and associated companies, St. Lucia with offices in Panama, Uruguay, International Financial Planning, Cayman. Proven's core investments include a portfolio of banking and wealth management companies with operations throughout the Caribbean, mainly in Jamaica, Cayman, St. Lucia, Bermuda, and the BVI. So I don't know if they're actually headquartered in Jamaica, but they say that their portfolio, their operations is mainly in Jamaica. And it's just so funny that, when you look at who they place as CEO, like they don't even put Caribbean people. Oh, they're mainly in Jamaica, but they don't even put Caribbean people at the forefront of the organization, much less Caymanians. When they come in, and I guess I don't know if it's SEMA that approves these acquisitions. I think from a by the book perspective, do you have enough? Are you liquid enough and all these kind of things? SEMA is definitely involved in approving the acquisition. But at some point, part of that requirement should also be that, listen, for the first 5 years that you come in here, we don't want to hear that you need to change your operations for better efficiency and this, that. No. Think about that before you even decide to purchase a company. So you want Fidelity? Good. You think it's so profitable and that your customers are so great and happy with the company? Then you come in and you make no significant operational changes. You do not make Caymanian staff redundant. That should be part of their licensing requirements. And you don't get a license, you don't get approval from SEMA unless you put that in writing, that you will not be making any Caymanian staff, especially management, redundant. Because now those are 4 Caymanian families, right, who have lost positions. And do you know how tough it is to find something in the world of banking or any financial services or any job right now? It is tough. So Damon says, are they being replaced? And from which country we shall see. So this is where I have an issue, because they shouldn't be replaced. Let me just see here now. Because if my memory serves me correctly from when I did employment law, now mind you, that's been 20-something years ago at law school, it is the actual position that becomes redundant and not the individual itself. And like I said, I find it really, really surprising to hear that all these top positions are no longer required. So this is a basic definition of redundancy. If there's no longer any job function or duty to be performed by that person, his or her position becomes redundant. So it says that this does not mean that any aspect of the employee's duties is still not performed by somebody else. So again, I'm a little bit confused. And I believe that there could have been a way to, work with those individuals, not take them out of the workforce completely. Mr. Amelia says Caymanians need to start standing up for each other. This isn't going to stop until we unite and stand up. Enough is enough. Well, Amelia, the only thing that I've ever seen Caymanians stand up against. Okay, I guess a few people stood up against COVID vaccine. The only other thing is the LGBTQ community. You guys stand up against them like they're going to cause the world to end. Y'all don't stand up against anything else. You don't stand up against child molesters. You don't protest and stand up against crime and murders in your community. People like Fidelity Bank doing this stuff. How many of y'all will go out there and protest? When these same companies were not paying out pension during the COVID pandemic within the requirements of the law, y'all were all upset about it. Yeah, Sandy, help us do something. And I said, okay, let's go out there and protest. Here's little old me. I don't have no pension money with them. I could care less. I'm out there holding up a sign, and it was me and 5 other people. Meanwhile, my email was blowing up, WhatsApp was blowing up, Facebook Messenger calling me. Why can't I get my pension money? And I said, right, take a stand. And all the 5 people show up to take a stand. George is calling. I would love to be able to take this call. Unfortunately, I think I'm the only person who's going to hear you, and the audience can't hear you because we got a little issue with our board. But let's try it, George. Let me put you on speakerphone. Maybe they can hear you on speakerphone. Morning. Hi. Hello. Hi. Oh gosh, I think he can't hear me either. Is a problem. Uh-oh. Yeah, unfortunately, folks, we got an issue with the phone lines and other stuff today because remember the board I was telling you about? We finally have it, but it's a little bit more complicated. So that means that I gotta figure out all the I'll have to tell him no that we got an issue. So yeah, unfortunately, yes. He keeps calling. Bless his little heart. He's like, I want to say something. So yeah, unfortunately, we're not able to take any phone calls today because the board we'll get it sorted out. So Mr. Maris is watching us from Queens, New York. Thank you so much. Zambula says redundant, but other people still got to go to work in those roles. Well, the role is supposed to be redundant, but what they'll do, this is a known practice, is they will reformulate a different role, call it something else, but pretty much it's like the same thing, right? Just to be able to legally be just on the right side of the line of the law. So Lewis says this is where the labor board needs to step in. They are useless to locals. Well, if the law has no teeth in it, then unfortunately there's very little that the labor board can do. Size of the staff at Fidelity Bank, I have no idea. I have no clue. Good morning, caller. Hello?
Miss Sandy, take me off. Don't put me on air.
It's impossible for me to not put you on air when I'm on a live show. So you can't call me during a live show unless you're on air. Yeah, okay. So you have to call me after the show. All right, folks, you can't call, like, this is a live show. I'm standing here live. So when you call me and I answer the phone, I can't not put you on air. I mean, the proper show phone people can't call right now because unfortunately that just isn't working. Although I think if I just put him on speakerphone, it might work. So let's do that. Morning, caller.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're having some phone issues today, but I've just got you on speakerphone so that hopefully the listeners on radio can hear you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Hill, can you tell me anything about? I was understanding that government were doing something for people with their lake bill that have under 2,000 kilowatts a month or something like that. The government would also subscribe to CUC for them. Do you know anything about that?
Okay, so I'm gonna send you some information that it's not the topic that we're discussing right this minute, but I can definitely send you all the details on WhatsApp.
Yes, ma'am, please. And just another quick question.
Sure.
That maybe you can inquire about. Maybe not today, but next week sometime, as I listen every morning to your show. What is happening in the island with marriages of convenience?
Well, again, we talk about that all the time as well. But what's happening is Caymanians are the ones who are taking advantage or allowing people to take advantage of them. How can you stop if right? All the protections are there in the law, and the law is doing as much as they can do. But the people who are part of the problem are the Caymanians themselves. What else can be done?
Yeah, because what I've seen over the years, even as I was a court bailiff for many years too, that people come here and they marry 3-4 months a year, and then they file for divorce, go to court, and then the foreign judges give them all of the right. They get their home, they get their car, they get maintenance from their spouses or I am sorry. So it's something. It's a hard thing to deal with. I understand because immigration understand not dealing with it anymore. They was very strong many years ago when they would deal with people getting married and stuff. But I'm just trying to find out answers because how can we judge somebody that that said that they're not genuine in love or married, but then these people are not living together. They come and they marry, they don't even live together, and then every month the spouse gonna pay the other one just to keep married and stuff like that, and then when they get raided in this court, and they always win the case, the women always win the case, so just wondering, Mom.
Yeah, we've talked about it numerous times before, and we can certainly have the conversation again, but until Caymanians are prepared to do the right thing, very little will change.
Yes, Mom, I know that because they're being manipulated by the foreigners.
Well, if Caymanians are that, let me be very, very frank. If Caymanians are that stupid to allow other people to come here and manipulate us in the realm of marriage, then we deserve everything we get. You can't, sometimes you cannot save people from themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I hear what you're saying, but until Caymanians are willing to take responsibility for the role that we play in a lot of the issues that we have, nobody else is going to save us. We have to just step up to the plate.
I agree, Miss Sandra. Thank you for your time. And
yes, my dear. You too.
Keep listening.
All right, love. Yeah, this isn't, listen, I don't know what kind of joke situation this is, what kind of world we're living in, where we think that everybody else is going to solve our problems. We want the politicians to be the ones to do it for us. And meanwhile, you can't even stand up for yourself. At some point, you have an obligation. Be part of the solution and stop looking for somebody else to do something about it. Whether it's marriages of convenience or even the situation that we're talking about right now, there really is only so much that people can do. But listen, pay attention. If you go to Fidelity Bank right now and they start losing customers left, right, and center, you know the message that you're going to send to them, and by extension, all other banks and businesses in this country, that if you don't have any corporate, what's the word I'm looking for? If you don't have any corporate morality, if there's such a thing, right? If you don't do things a certain way, we as consumers will not deal with you. That's the power that you have. You guys have the most important role right now. You can do something about it. Sometimes you have to boycott organizations. There, I said it. Right? You don't think that they care if they start losing customers left, right, and center? I bet you they'll find a way to bring them back. Y'all want answers? There's it's not pretty, but that's what it is. Izzy says, why is government not looking into these positions and the fact that they're required for the bank? I'm supposing, Izzy, the government found out about it once CMR released the story yesterday. It happened late on Wednesday, and by yesterday morning, I had people say, have you heard anything about it? Do you know anything about what's going on? I said, no. The first person who messaged me, I said, no. And then I started getting message after message after message. And then it took me a minute. Oh, my apologies for having to blow my nose in your ear. But unfortunately, I can't even mute my own mic this morning. But, you know, it's not COVID, thank God. It's just a run-of-the-mill cold, child. But yes, this is what it is. It's horrible. It's disgusting. Y'all just don't understand. Aurelia says that if you don't take a stand for anything, you fall for everything. And K-Man must wake up. Let me ask y'all a serious question now. I was just telling you about the pension situation, right? How I was out there, again, this was Fidelity, by the way. Fidelity pension. They weren't paying up pensions in time. Oh, no. We don't know if DLP, who was in charge of ensuring that they paid it within the requirement during COVID, we don't know if they ever fined them, if they ever did anything, nothing. And this is where government falls flat on its ass, is when we put them in charge of certain things and we have expectations of them when it comes to enforcement, they don't even bother to update us. All I heard was, oh, yes, complaints have been made and we're looking into it. Has it ever been resolved? Because just up to last week, somebody else was saying to me yet again that they were still waiting on money from the COVID. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's over 2 years ago. How can you still be waiting on money from then? So, I mean, I don't know exactly how this works, but DLP couldn't issue a report, one of these fancy press releases, nothing to say, oh, yes, Fidelity was breaching it, because we knew that they were one of the ones who were breaching it, not paying on time. Remember, the man got in the Legislative Assembly before the Finance Committee and said that, oh, they had growing pains, oh, their technology, they're this. They had every excuse in the book. Why they were not meeting the required deadlines. And all now, we can't hear from DLP, no government agency whatsoever. Were they ever fined? Because the law was very, very specific. This is the time frame for paying out this emergency COVID funds from someone's pension. And if you don't do it by this date, right, this is how you're going to be penalized. Were they ever penalized? Because again, these banks only understand one thing, and it's called dinero, money, right? So money talks. And when they're hit with fines, that's why you notice how the US does it. Every time they're breaching money laundering offenses, whatever, there might be some criminal implications. So yes, somebody might be going to jail. But more importantly, they're going to slap them with some significant financial penalties as well. Now, this caller, I hope you want to be on the program, although you're calling the wrong number. All right, caller, you're calling the wrong show number, but are you wanting to be on air? Because you're on speakerphone.
Yes, the answer is yes.
All right, good.
I want to be on air.
Very good.
This is Billy Adam.
Yes, hi.
You start talking a little bit this morning about pension. And in the public arena, I haven't been too vocal on it recently. But then you also talk about Caymanian taking responsibility for their own action. And the previous governments that we have had, which we really haven't had a change in government for 30 years because the same people that are there in cabinet continue to be in cabinet and control things. And not for the good of the Caymanian people. And the extensions continue from one administration to the next. Now, what the previous government did during COVID was to do what they said they wanted to do, and that was to disassemble pensions. Caymanians flocked to collect money to buy a new car. The majority of people, probably 3/4 of the Caymanians that got their hands on that money, did not spend it wisely. They wasted it with all kinds of things that they got bought. From cars to trips overseas and expensive vacations, staycations here, all kinds of nonsense. And the new government that has come in, the PAC government, the P word has hardly come out of their mouth, with the exception of allowing the extension to the rebuilding of what people need to do to prepare for their own future years of retirement hasn't started yet. Every legislature member that voted, and some are in there now, that voted for the decimation of pension savings that people had, to be ashamed of themselves to go along government, unsensible name they want to call themselves, now the opposition, when they were decimating pensions. People are fully employed throughout COVID were allowed to withdraw their pension, but not on a need basis. And I at one time was on the National Pensions Board, and finally when they kicked me off, in the same PPM administration, when they kicked me off, they said I wasn't a team player. And you mentioned about in the Legislative Assembly, pension plan administrators admitting that they had violated the law. You don't have to go anywhere else. They admit they violated the law. Not one action was taken. The Pensions Office, the National Pensions Office, DLP, is an agency that has not been fit for purpose for 15 years. They're depending on keeping people broke and barefoot. And that's how they try to control their votes. They're going to have to fund people in retirement because the money isn't going to be there. So people lose their dignity. They sell their soul to the politician to hand out to them. And this is the danger of our politics in the future, people. As in Singapore, they say, when you start to look at selling benefits to people, that's when your country is going to go down the tube. The election mustn't be an auction to see how much you're going to collect. And that's exactly what a lot of Cayman elections are. It's an auction. How much am I going to get from the politician if I vote for him? And whoever's going to pay me the most, that's the one I'm going to vote for. Ability, I know it's the subject started out on taking responsibility and the marginal convenience issue.
Well, we weren't talking about marriage as a convenience at all. We're actually talking about the fact that Fidelity has let go 4 senior members.
Fidelity and employment.
Yeah, That's where we're at this morning.
But the pension plan administrators have been allowed over the years, and this is why I said I was not on their team, because in cahoots with the government over the years, they've been allowed to take advantage of people, employees. The employees themselves reneged on their responsibility to look after their money. Because the pension regime is designed in an environment that if you are an employee or member of a pension plan, your vote troubles the pension plan. But if you don't go to the annual general meeting, then you can never control it. I've been at a pension plan meeting with 16,000 members, and you have 12 members to the annual general meeting. If people just look at it and they continue to do what they want to do. And we will not get anywhere around promoting democracy unless people start to take personal responsibility and get involved. Is it easy? No. Is it boring at times? Yes. Will you get victimized? Yes. But we need to take personal responsibility and tell these tell government, start talking the P word. The first letter in fact is P. This, what you're talking, the last letter is T, transparency. This must not be just an acronym that is there to sound nice. Every letter in that, we need to hold them fully accountable to it. The theft that went down in pensions is still going on. And it's people, this is your own money. This is 10% of your income because the employer puts in, and you don't take an interest in it. I just cannot understand. These are educated people. These are uneducated people. This is across the whole spectrum of employment. And they don't get involved. And it will never change. But it's indicative of everything in Cayman. The planning, what they're getting ready to do up in the wetlands. I see the Compass has, I don't subscribe to it, but I see where they send out some notice about the pressure being put on the landowners, on the government. They want to destroy it. That road isn't for making traffic any faster. What that road is to do is to open up so they can destroy the rest of it, so they can take the Cayman population to over 200,000 people. And they will do it because Caymanians will allow it. Who will get involved? Caymanians are going to be, for the next generation, somewhere below 20%, the generational Caymanians, 20% of the total population.
Well, caller, I want you to.
Scenarios in Cayman.
Yeah, sorry, caller. I'm gonna wrap you up just a little bit, but I do want to remind people. When you were
understand, Sandra, because it's just so many things you can talk about.
Yeah.
And until people begin to get involved, the DART agreement was signed on December the 5th, 2011, and all the various amendments. Is available on the internet. You can wait. They had pages of how secret it was supposed to be. Somehow it's on CNN. Go and read it on there. It's available to read. Take time to read it. They go running around now doing this airport expansion. The people that are doing the meetings don't know about this agreement. This agreement that they have made with them, DART is supposed to be getting 3 acres of land east of the current terminal. He's going to have a water access there, put people in cars or in boats. They come under the bridge going into West Bay, have a terminus up there. So all the taxi drivers, and you talk about people, all the various hotels, which majority are going to be owned by DART because of the way it's structured on that agreement, they're not taxing people now and get much work by the time he finished with it. How many people are looking at it? The people that are doing the plan, they have looked at it. They admitted that at the meeting. They haven't been provided with it. We're unaware.
All right, caller, leave me there.
Okay, yes, ma'am. You take
All right,
care.
thanks
Okay?
very much. All right.
God bless. Everybody want 916-07.
Uh-oh, oops. Sorry, Billy. We'll get his number and send it out. He says if you guys want to call him, you can do so. What's his number again? Hold on. Let me look it up. Call Billy. 916-0707. All right, folks. Just was going through some of your comments. Damien says, what if they had children in college and university? Well, Fidelity clearly doesn't care about all that. I would have loved to have heard Fidelity say, you know what? We decided to pay off the rest of our mortgages. We're going to make sure that the kids are going to be okay. You know, we're good corporate citizens. That would have been nice, but I don't think any of that is actually going to happen. Moya says, all Caymanians who utilize in their loan facilities needs to move their loan to another bank and go forward. None do any banking with Fidelity. Move your money, move your loans. Thank you, Moya. The point is, if you guys want to make a point, if you want to take a stand for somebody else, and this is part of the problem, most of us sit back and do nothing about anything that's happening in this country because, oh, it doesn't impact me yet. It's coming. They're coming for you, but it doesn't impact me yet. So when it doesn't impact you, you're like, oh, okay, I'm all right. My family's good. We can still pay our bills. And you have no clue how many times I've seen this happen. That's why I laugh when my friends say to me, sometimes, you know, I'm like helping someone. They're like, oh, but Sandy, that person last year, the year before was cussing you out, carrying on. I said, that's okay. Bless their little heart. Because when it hits the fan and it's their turn, they sure know how to pick up a phone and call for help. Oh, but when you were helping this other person, they were like, oh, she liked to get in people's business too much and this, that, next thing. I said, okay. I said, it's all right. Don't worry. Because a lot of my friends say, no, it wouldn't be me. I wouldn't even take their phone call. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. When you don't take it personal, you really don't care. Because it becomes a matter of principle. You're either going to stand up for what's right or you're not. Sometimes it is pretty black and white. So listen, I'm not a fan of banking. You know, everything you want to do, you got to fill out a million paperwork. You got to do this, you got to do that. Y'all know I ride with CNB and I'm going to ride with them until I have a reason not to ride with them. Because I've had experiences with other banks that has been less than professional. And what I will say is you have options if you bank with Fidelity, right? Now, I don't know what's required for you to get rid of Fidelity, what you need to do to move your loan or anything of the sort. But I bet it's not that hard. CNB has got a whole line of people waiting for you to come on over. Join the good folks. But I have to honestly wonder how many of you would be willing to even do that much to send a message, a very loud message, I would dare say, to Fidelity Bank. You think if Fidelity Bank lost even 400 or 500 customers that they wouldn't go, oops, I think we made a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. And then the next bank that thinks about doing it is going to have to think twice because they're going to say, if we let go Miss Mary Sue Jackson, this is just an example, just throwing out a name, Mary Sue Ebanks, Mary Sue I am Caymanian, multi-generational Mary Sue, right? And I saw what they did with Fidelity. Maybe that's not going to work out too well for me. Folks, when people see that as a community we're willing to take a stand, they'll adjust their behavior. Y'all don't believe me? As that caller was talking about a number of different things, something occurred to me about the previous leader, Alden McLaughlin, and when he said, this is when Mr. Billy was saying about increasing the population. Now, invariably, our population will increase. I've never seen any country in the world that has a population decrease. Even China, who does their best to limit you to having one baby per family, still has a population increasing. It might not be exploding at the rate that it would have been otherwise, but it's increasing. So it is coming whether you want it or not, right? We have to be ready. We have to manage that growth and we have to be ready for it. So pretending like it's not going to happen, pretending like you can stop it is, I think, unrealistic. So anybody who tells you, oh, we can stay where we are, we can stay stagnant in terms of population growth, I don't think is being honest with you. And not only are they not really being honest with you, you often hear me talk about on the show, the ability for us to manage your expectations. When I say you need to manage your expectations, so in other words, if I tell you that, listen, this is the cold hard truth, it's going to be A, whether you're ready for A or not is your business. Once you know what it is, you can go, wow, I can choose to be ready or I can choose not to be ready. I can stick my head back on the ground and pretend it's not going to happen. But if you know it's coming, you can manage your reality, what you're going to expect to be the fallout from it all. So as he was talking about that, a thought came to me about Alden McLaughlin. And when he said, even the expansion in this country, we welcome people in work permits. We need all these CEOs and work permits and all this kind of stuff, because he says that creates jobs for Caymanians. Now, had Alden stopped there, I would have nothing bad to say about him in this regard. But he went on to give examples of the jobs that it creates for us. And he said things like, oh, it creates jobs for us as secretaries and receptionists and support staff. It's when Alden said that I was like, WTF are you talking about? Oh, that's as good as we can do, we can aspire to be. I didn't hear him saying that it was creating opportunities for Caymanians to be managers, CEOs, and partners in law firms and accounting firms. That's not what he said. He put us all the way down at the totem pole. In that moment, I got to tell you, I lost a lot of respect for that man, if I ever had much of any. Because I said to myself, what? That's it? That's what you aspire to in life? You, Mr. McLaughlin, who's a big-time partner in a small-time firm, are telling us that the most we can expect to be is messengers, front desk clerks, and maybe an admin assistant. So when I raise my daughter, I must tell her, don't aspire to be a business owner, a manager, the top of her field, running a law firm, none of that stuff, because that's only reserved for people who are coming here and work permits. Y'all need to start listening to your MPs and some of the BS that they're throwing out at you. Anyway, when Billy was talking about that occurred to me. It's a sad day in the Cayman Islands, folks, when our people know what the right thing is to do and refuse to do it. The energy that you can put into spreading misinformation about the COVID vaccine or anything else that you've been up to lately, can I ask you to find even 10% of that energy? Email Fidelity today and say, I would like to move my account somewhere else. What million forms do I need to fill out to do so? Do it. How hard can it be? The 4 individuals that are unemployed today need to know that this community is not prepared to sit back and allow this to happen without any repercussions. As them old people say, you can do what you want to do, but not for as long as you want to do it. Everything we do in life comes with consequences. Action, reaction. Sometimes the reaction is positive, sometimes it's negative, but there are consequences. Yeah? Here's another example of when people know that there are consequences. Remember during the general election, it wasn't that long ago, last year, when the progressive government was up to their usual shenanigans, trying to form a government, although they didn't have the majority. They did it the last time. Y'all sat back and did nothing. So they were successful. So this time around, here they go again. They think history is going to repeat itself. Little did they know it wasn't going to go so. When the people started protesting, and it wasn't even that it was a huge number of people, but the response, the vibration in the community, the thousands of people who were watching the protests on social media, who were engaged and who were like, enough is enough, stopped certain MPs dead in their tracks. Where they said, oh, wow, the people elected me as an independent candidate, and they really do not want me joining forces with the progressives to put back in a progressives government yet again. After 12 years, we want to change. The power of your actions cannot be underestimated, because let me tell you what happened. There were at least 3 other MPs, and I speak from a position of knowing, who were preparing to make the jump. As a matter of fact, one of them, the day of swearing in at the Legislative Assembly, said to me, oh, Sandra, I got to tell you the truth, I was scared. I was scared to protest, so I had to just toe the line. And I said, really? Yeah, I know. I know you 1 to 3, honey child. You're not telling me that. I'm not calling their names because it's not about that right now. But there were at least 3 others who were being convinced by people like their spouses because, oh, she's pro PPM. I'm like, did your spouse vote for you? I'm sure she did. But, the people of this particular constituency put you in, and you claim you're working as a independent, you're running as an independent candidate. If you're running with the progressives, why didn't you just run with the progressives to begin with? Why the duplicity? Why the lies? Why the games? Just tell us up front where you stand. After the fact, now you gonna turn coat. They got a little bit scared, a little bit jittery about, wow, the people are going to protest. When politicians stand up and give you these little convenient catchphrases, oh, the power is in the people. I wish y'all would actually understand that for real. The power is with the people if you actually, number 1, understand what your power is, and number 2, you're willing to exercise it. If you sit down all day and you do nothing, you are powerless. Magdalene says, girl, you're on point. It will impact you someday. It's that old saying about when they came for the Jews. If you think it is possible to sit back and do nothing in life and never stand up for anything, and it's all about you, one day you will be the only person standing. Right? First they came for who? The socialists. And then I did not speak out because I wasn't socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. But guess what? When they came for me, there was no one left to speak for me. When they came for the Caymanians, maybe some of my expat friends are listening to this program. They're like, oh, I'm not a Caymanian. What do I care? When they came for the Jamaicans, oh, well, that's not my business. Put them on a boat, let them sink. It's really a question of, as human beings, knowing when something is wrong, inherently wrong, and that people are not being treated fairly, and being able to stand up and lend your voice to that situation. We cannot allow this or any such injustice, as far as I'm concerned, to go unanswered. So the only question I have, I've given you the facts, they've terminated them. There's no real reason for the termination except they claim that they are restructuring, whatever the hell that means. What are you prepared to do today? Any Fidelity customers here? Because I know y'all are happy to talk, and talk is cheap at the end of the day, right? I stand up every single day. 2.5 hours, I talk. So I can tell you better than anybody else that talk is cheap. After the show, I try to do as little talking as possible. People want to call me and talk for another half an hour, and I'm just like, oh, Lord, I'm talked out. What are you going to do? 320 something of you are online right now. We got over 108 on YouTube, another 215 on Facebook. How many of you? Tons of people listening on the radio. Any Fidelity customers out there? Let me hear from y'all now. Let's see. Let me put on my glasses. All right. Damien, Magdalene says, thank you for all that you did. Damien says that tells a lot about their character also. Can they be trusted later? We'll talk about that another day. There's tons of time for that. I want to stay focused here this morning because we are going to have to change topics going into the last hour. What are you prepared to do? Will you close out your account with Fidelity today? Magdalene says she's already at the best bank in the land, CNB. You go, girl. Damien says, until united we stand, divided we fall. Apostle Pablo says, CNB, the bank that you support, did the same thing. Stop the drama. When did CNB let go all top, or at least 3-4 top Caymanian staff? Not only has CNB not done that, but this is from the workers themselves. I don't work at CNB, so I can't tell you anything about that part of things. I can tell you that during COVID, I had CNB employees saying to me that, Sandy, this bank really did right by us. Even when we were not working, they were giving us extra payments. They were doing the most. I heard of no other, and I stand to be corrected, just because I didn't hear it, don't mean it didn't go so. So by all means, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have heard of no other bank that has done those sorts of things. One viewer to the program says, when government had to bail them out after Ivan, I took my little bit out. Oh, good. So she not got no money there. Let's move on to the next person. Good morning. I believe the cap was removed. It was recommended to change to 2 weeks for every year. I thought Tara was going to assist with those changes. She was absolutely useless. Oh, poor Tara Rivers. So the 2 years per year, that never happened then, yeah? Good morning. Another viewer says, you are empowered. It will impact you someday. I don't know if the commentator intended that specifically to you, but your love for country accepted that compliment for everyone listening. Thank you. I hope you feel better soon. Thank you. I think by Monday I'll be back to normal. So someone sends a message about they're gonna, y'all are so shady. They're gonna send me an email. They're gonna send me a WhatsApp message from a Cayman Compass article. I must click on a Cayman Compass link. It says bank unfairly sacked president during takeover talks. So this is in relation to CNB and Mr. Orman. Oh gosh, what Mr. Orman Williams. Okay, that's one that is one individual, and to be honest, I forgot about him. But this is not a situation, and to be quite frank, he was the president of the bank, I believe. And the allegation was that the new team did not feel like he was going to be on board with the takeover. So he had an issue. This is what was alleged. He had an issue with the fact that the bank was going to be taken over by Republic Bank. And so they decided to part ways. That's not the same thing as this. That is nowhere near the same thing as this. That is not getting rid of 4 Caymanian managers from 4 critical roles within your organization months after telling them that there'd be no changes for 2 years to come. Not the same situation at all. This customer says, anonymous, I have a mortgage with Fidelity and I'm trying to move it to another bank. They have increased the interest rate 4 times more expected and I'm struggling to pay my bills. Well, all banks have increased the interest rates because of the increase in the US. But let's go on. This is discussing what they did to the long-standing Caymanians. I'm in a difficult position because I'm barely qualified due to my age for a 30-year mortgage. Moving to another bank would likely increase my payments because I wouldn't qualify now for a 30-year mortgage, so I feel stuck. All right, without knowing the details of your age and other factors that might be important, what I would say to you is that you can still have a consultation with another bank, contact one of the mortgage experts, and they should be in a position to at least advise you on what your options are. The person goes on to say, also, Fidelity is not offering fixed interest rates. And because I have RERC, I don't qualify for the fixed interest rate at RBC. And that was announced this week. Call CNB, child. Call, what is Andrew's number? Hold on. I can give you 2 numbers to call, honey child. I'm not saying, as a matter of fact, I lost my debit card. I need to call CNB this morning. Let me see now. I'm not saying for sure that they'll be able to do something, but as I say, there's no harm in asking. So let me get y'all, I'm going to get you Andrew's number. Give Andrew and John Lewis a call over at CNB. All right, hold on. Andrew, what's Andrew's last name again? Andrew Williams. All right, I still link you with some information to that anonymous. Good morning, caller. I got you on speakerphone because my little board, I need to figure out a few things on it. But how are you?
Good morning. I wonder what I'm trying to do is because my princess had me up all night last night, so not really knowing the full extent of the topic, but just for the last 3-4 minutes, I'm listening, talking about Cape National, et cetera.
So this is Fidelity. Let me bring you up to speed. Mm-hmm. Yesterday morning, we got word that Fidelity Bank, who was recently taken over by Proven Bank or Proven Institution or whatever they call themselves, has let go 4 top managers, 1 being there for 35 years, 1 being there for 34 years, 1 being there for 23 years, and another one being there for 3 years, all in key management positions. They have said that because of organizational restructuring, they are letting go of all of those people.
I don't know. I don't understand it. I just hope but don't the country advocate, negotiate something like this At the top, they're supposed. I don't know. Where's the law? Where's the expectation? I don't know. We can see this takeover, amalgamation. Mm-hmm. It means that people own today what you owned yesterday, but if they didn't thief it from you, mm-hmm. you sold it to them. Huh? Can't we see these things coming? Or it's only when it arrives on our doorstep that we can't pass the hurdle that we have to get over, then we begin to meow. Listen to me. Mm-hmm. As usual, I thank you for your perspective, because you have sorry about this word, offering a hell of a perspective on everything. And you can deliver it so succinctly. I don't know. And as far as sitting down, not helping each other, I don't think even in your lifetime here on earth has Caymanians done that. Mm-hmm. Maybe in your early life, you would hear they would gather together on Shane Road, they would walk up and down, and it meant something back in the day. So since we got to shoot a bunch, I don't even know if it would mean anything. But we don't do anything for each other. Now, mm-hmm. when a person serving for 35 years or 20 odd years kicked out the door talking about restructuring, I would think they would have a big package as far as our restructuring for the people they are going to or have unceremoniously dumped, who have helped it work and bring this institution to where it's at, that it looks good to purchase, and and get all the goodwill, because some of these things it's just a goodwill thing, Mm-hmm, so we got messed up names, and need like one of them that I feel in my heart has got a dirty name and needed someplace good to be for the time being. Mm-hmm. But the Caymanians won't do anything. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's wrong with us anyway. I can leave you there, because you know that we can't do anything and won't do anything, and I believe we know that we can't do anything and won't do anything either. And the people surely do. They know they will meet with absolutely no resistance. And I'm not talking violence. I'm talking resistance. Exactly. Thank you so much, caller. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, my dear. So this person says, I repeat, as long as we're dependent on what permit revenue to balance our government budget, this sort of crap will continue. We do not adequately invest in our people, nor do we promulgate adequate legislation to protect them. Kiss my teeth. Our Labor Law Act is, this man hit me with some words this morning, indentureless and not worth the paper that it's written on. Proven is a Jamaican company. Yes, thank you very much. And then they sent the quote that I just read from this morning. Someone sent, I think Alwick posted in a comment that here's the link to the DART agreement and amendments as it relates to NRA. What is this? All right. This one says, I hope that they paid them properly. The labor law is so weak that there's no real penalties for this type of behavior by employers. I understand that they were made redundant, but why did the bank do it in this fashion? Certainly it could have been handled better than this. I couldn't agree with you more. Somebody else says, good morning. I wanted to highlight you of the commentary for your topics this morning. Look at who's making the first comments. I don't know what that means, but good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning, Sandra. I just turned on your show probably about 40 seconds ago.
Yes, sir.
What's your topic this morning, please?
Well, we're talking about Fidelity Bank, which has terminated or made redundant 4 senior Caymanian managers late on Wednesday afternoon. Came to our attention yesterday.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Because the last couple of minutes, I heard someone saying about, or your last caller saying something about there's nothing we can do. But
Well, I'm advocating that there's plenty we can do.
Okay. And so I started to mentally try to guess what the topic was. Do you know if they have any in the packages or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that Fidelity is following the letter of the law and that they're getting 1 year severance for every 1 week severance. Sorry. What is it? One week for every 1 year that they worked. Is that how it works? Yes.
Yeah.
Up to, I believe it's capped at either 12 or 15 years is what I'm hearing.
Because now that I know what the discussion's about, what immediately comes to mind, and I've been on the phone probably less than 30 seconds with you, and what immediately comes to mind is, if that's the case, and you said 4 Caymanians, then what fellow Caymanians can do?
Right.
Is like what they can do similar things like what's going on with the States with all this woke foolishness.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to Disney World and you find out that you can't say daughter and son, you got to say people. And, you know, you got to, all this foolishness, but you got to say, can't say breastfeed, you got to say chest feed and all things. So what people have been doing lately is rebelling by using their wallets, using their purse. So perhaps what Caymanians can do is, I mean, not knowing just knowing what I was just told, you can automatically transfer to other banks and support banks that support Caymanians. I mean, we can start with that.
Yeah, of course.
Because even me, I found that, you know, when you're shopping around for a loan here, if one bank don't give you what you're striving to get and what you can manage, then you try another bank. And of course you end up with, you know, what you can finally afford.
Yeah.
With, be it the deposit or the monthly payments. So Caymanians can do a lot, but the problem is, that's the dirty word. We're Caymanians.
Right.
And that's why nothing gets done. You think you could do this? You think foolishness like this could be done in neighboring countries and all that? And you know, this is the problem with our people. You know, it's so sad because, and then you know, we'll be the same ones. I almost say the word I shouldn't say on the radio, but we'll be the same ones that complain and, you know, go on and talk about foreigners this and foreigners that. But I did hear her say that, you know, we need to stand up more. And it's so sad for the next generation because, you know, we're in a mess. That's for sure.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you for your time, but I think we can start with that. If it goes any deeper, support banks that support Caymanians. I mean, you know, give banks that want to employ, because there is a spread now. Everywhere you go now, you see a lot of foreigners behind the counter. And in all honesty, some of our people has self-worthlessness too, and has you know, need to step up. And I heard you touch on that the other morning. But I just want to say thank you for this show. If it wasn't for this show, we probably wouldn't know nothing. And all I beg of you is continue to be neutral with your news. Don't be like the mainstream media. Right now, the United States mainstream media is rated the worst in the world amongst media. Just be open and fair, and I find you so far to be like that.
I appreciate that.
Because a lot of people, we wouldn't know a lot of things if the show wasn't around.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, my dear. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
So there's a little bit of some people are saying it's capped at 12 years. My apologies. Some people are saying there is no cap. So I tell you what, I will contact the Labor Department and I will confirm whether or not there is a cap or not. And I will let you guys know for Monday. Because again, we have a conversation today. Somebody said by next week we've forgotten all about it. We cannot continue to do that. That doesn't make any sense. It's no wonder. that they're able to take advantage of us. Here's what someone else says about these banks. New civil servants that might not have an account set up for direct deposits get checks. RBC won't cash the paycheck, their own check. You see, to me, this is stupidity and ridiculousness. Are they not cashing it, or are they charging you a fee when you try to cash it? Which one? How does it work? Because you don't have an account set up and you need cash? I get that these banks are, listen, they're getting rid of customer service agents. Everything has to be automated, online banking, all this kind of stuff. I understand the transition from a technological perspective, and it also saves them money. It's less hands on board that they have to have. But how the hell you can't go to a bank and cash a check, your work check from government at the bank that government uses? You want to talk about standing up? This is where government needs to say to Royal Bank, hello, ding, ding. If you guys keep doing these things that are absolutely ridiculous and makes it difficult for consumers to even access money that they're being paid just because, oh, they don't have a bank account with you, what's the purpose of a check then? You might as well get rid of the check system completely. But if they're going to do that, government needs to say, we will not do business with you. All the billions of dollars that they have deposited with Royal Bank, maybe they need to consider taking that money somewhere else, taking government bank accounts elsewhere. But the truth of the matter is our government themselves don't even have the balls to stand up to these companies. The one time government stood up to anybody, and we all knew about it in terms of corporate entities, was when they stood up to the Compass, when they were saying all this foolishness about we're all corrupt and we're this and that, whatever. So when they stood up to the Compass, but listen, everybody collectively in the Legislative Assembly voted for that, right? Alden undid it months later, went back to giving Compass all the revenue from government advertising, never said a single word to the people of this country. All we knew was we started seeing ads appear in the Compass again. Did any of you even ask the question? Wait a minute. Didn't government pull advertising from the Compass and then they reinstated it? It was a big to-do when they pulled it. When they reinstated it, we heard nothing, not a single word. Again, even the elected officials don't have the gumption to do what they need to do. And when they need to be duplicitous and reverse something, y'all know, you don't hear nothing about it. It's done, hush, hush, quiet, quiet. We were trying to send a message that you can't talk about the Cayman Islands and Caymanians in such a disparaging way as Mr. Legge had been doing for years and getting away with it. He was allowed to do that, and y'all sitting down every day reading his newspaper, reading his disgusting editorial pieces, right? He has the audacity to tell us, I'm a Caymanian, I can tell you you're behind lazy. But who is this Johnny come lately who doesn't know anything about the history of Caymanians who actually have worked really, really hard for a long time? Do we have lazy Caymanians? Yes, just like everywhere else in the world. And we will address those issues. We will talk about those issues. Caller, good morning.
Hey, step on my toes when you charge at my dear Alden like that. I love me and Alden.
I know.
But listen to me. I was one of the people that publicly on talk shows begged Alden to jot that Cayman government account with real dollars, none of the press dollars, 80 cents and less, from that person right there who was still walking up and down this country talking about how he was in fear of his life.
Yes.
And I was so disappointed. To God, I was disappointed when I saw the look like what we call it, the relationship
was restored
again.
Yes.
I didn't say anything, and you're right. I thought about saying something, but you know what I thought at that point? What's the point of saying anything?
Right.
Because really, if you kick people in the face long enough, they get to the position and the place where I can't stand another shoe in my face. That's how I felt at that point. And far as I know, that man stayed here as long as he wanted to stay here.
I'm sure he's still
every
here.
Day threatening us about he don't feel safe in the country, but he was still in the country.
Exactly.
And I wonder why, because
driving up and down in his topless convertible and talking about he don't feel safe. I never saw such foolishness in my life.
I wonder, but if you remember them big old coffee table books that started to come out from nowhere, that's how you get up in people's home to see what a home looks like, to report the message back to where you want to report it to. I think he had an agenda outside of any agenda that we discuss, because he was just too organized and too knowledgeable for me. I used to sit down in some press conferences with him, and the way he asked his questions, he gave his history first, and then he posed the question. You were trapped. Yeah. An ordinary person don't really come with all that background, and so on and so forth. I sat down with him for a little while over the years, like 2008, 2009, and he was unbelievable. Trust me. But like you say, really Caymanian government need to develop some cojones.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if our leaders don't have it.
We are the butt of bad jokes around the world.
Yeah,
they're not qualified. They don't know nothing about. But like dare say, you can't. I mean, I think we're qualified. We might know because we might be smart as, because we don't have to be as vicious as historically. But we can step up to the plate and how things. I don't know why we're so afraid of legislation, and why we don't write our own legislation for our own self, because when policies come down, you can look at it and see so many flaws that you know that's not from their own pen. They put the John Henry down there, or they snap down there, but it's not from us. But that's a sticking point with me. I don't know how we got back to compass, and now we see that under, I guess, new management, they're still so unkind, because when they took away the word Caymanian, that was purposeful. That's a possessive. That gives me, some sort of skin in the game. Cayman Compass is simply, in my humble opinion, a brand. It's nothing. So thank you very much for voicing that.
I mean, it is just, it's just but one example. And I mean, the thing is, we forget so many of these things as they happen, right? But that was one perfect example where it took an entire group, the entire Legislative Assembly, to decide to stop doing business with the Compass. And one man was able to put it back in place and never even uttered a word. And most people,
at that time, I thought my face was busted wide open.
Oh my God!
Because I was so happy when I heard that it wouldn't be going forward and blah 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 blah.
And we don't know what changed. Was there an apology? Was there anything? None of that.
Not a word.
This man was getting international media attention. I see Jonathan talking about, you're comparing this to the banks. In fact, what he did at the Compass was worse than the banks, because he had the ability to reach the outside world with a message. You go and research this, and it's still all on the Associated Press websites. This man going around telling worldwide media about how in the Cayman Islands, his life was being threatened. His life was on the line just because we stopped his money train, right? The gravy train. And our government never demanded and received an apology from him. And we just went back to giving him millions of dollars of government revenue. And if you think it's millions of dollars a year, you joking. Right? I mean, it's just unbelievable. And unfortunately, we as the people sit back and allow the very elected officials that we put in place, who are supposed to be looking out for our interests and doing stuff for us, we allow them to have no balls either. I mean, I get it if you and I might be afraid. Well, not me, but other people who are like, okay, I have a job, I can get blacklisted. And this is why I'm spending money to buy a board that I didn't even need, so that people can call in anonymously into this program. Because a lot of times they're like, Sandy, I want to call, but I'm afraid. I have a family. When people send me messages, please delete that message. Anonymous, anonymous, anonymous. This is it every single day. But we elect people. They're not anonymous. We know who the 19 are. They're supposed to have our back. They're supposed to be looking out for our interests. They're supposed to put things in place that represent us, the people. And then they revert and they do things, and we don't even get the courtesy of oh, well, we're back in bed with the compass again. We're going to give them back the people's money with some degree of explanation. You know, when you see people walking around with that type of attitude, with all due respect, caller, I lose respect for them. Because what I see just is like, what? It's a slap in the face for the people of this country.
I don't think we got patriotic Caymanians anymore.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as that. I think we have some, but I don't know if they know what to do.
Well, that too, because there has been a long gap since people were active, you know, just in the name of Cayman. So if you missed the gravy train earlier on, you really don't know what to do or how to do. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth. I always say we don't know how to organize. And if you don't know how to organize, mm-hmm. you don't know how to fight. And I take that all the way back to emancipation. Mm-hmm. Because Caymanians really didn't fight for emancipation. Mm-hmm. That came to us as a rite of passage under Jamaica. Yeah. And other people in other jurisdictions were fighting against slavery. They had to organize. They lost their lives. That's why I've got a very angry Bajan friend. Mm-hmm. But listen, caller, with all due respect, Caymanians cannot even admit to this day that we had slaves in this country. We have so whitewashed our very history, right? Anytime. And I'm not ashamed of being black. I like my thick lips and that Kimmy thing. I look surprised. Like, thank you, Grandma. Trust me. I don't know what's wrong with us. I really. We have another caller. Let me put in hold 1 second. I'm just going to join this caller in to the call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. How you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Well, you hit it right where it hurts this morning, isn't it?
Why? I mean, I feel it.
You're making a very good point, Sandy, and I agree with you. Number one, we always say that Cayman National car is a Honda. I think the Xbox national word is redundancy, right? And I think that's their national word. I don't understand why, if I'm selling a company to someone else, if my interest is not to guarantee or secure my employers or employees, right? To say, well, okay, what are you gonna, are you gonna guarantee we have this amount? We have Sandy that's been here for X amount of time. Are we gonna guarantee that he's gonna keep their job? We noticed that another bank facility did the exact same thing, right? When they made their top man or top team and redundant or took away that position. We had a few banks several years ago did the exact same thing. They rather make them redundant and then bring someone else in under a different title and rebrand it, and they're doing the exact same work. Okay? And nothing is being done, nothing is being said. Regardless if you give these people packages, you cannot give back for the amount of years and 1 week per month for every, 1 week per year for every year. You can't give them back that, you know what I mean? And this particular bank has no good standing because of what they did with the pension, and now they come and do this.
Yep. Okay. And as I reminded people of earlier, Mr. Brent Hill at the time had the audacity to sit in our legislative assembly and say to our legislators, yes, we have broken the law. Give them all sorts of excuses. And I'm sitting there going, and what will the penalty be? Because the law says there will be penalties. And to this day, we have never heard if Fidelity or any other institution that had pensions was actually penalized in any way, shape, or form. And you want to hear the irony of that whole situation? The one entity that you would say, oh, is Caymanian owned, maybe they would have had issues struggling with technology, whatever, which was Saxon Insurance, a Caymanian owned pension entity, was the one that had it together more than anybody else. They were the quickest to pay out. They had the website up. I mean, I found it so, the contrast was shocking and unbelievable.
And the sad part is that I dealt with Saxon, and when I went to them I didn't even know I was eligible because I had a prior job before the one that I have. And they're like, oh yeah, you could get this and you could get that. And they were calling me and give me updates of what I needed to do and everything else, where everybody else was having a problem. And the whole thing of it is that, when you look at bottom line, you look at any Webster's dictionary, theft is theft. They're quick to lock up a Caymanian or anybody else if they steal from an employer. But when an employee steals pension or anything else from that, from an employee, they'll get a slap on their wrist. Theft is theft. No matter how you put it, it's theft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for what they're doing, they're going to put it in their hand, and in a couple of days, it's going to be swept underneath the rug, and these people are going to be forgotten about. And it should not be like that. I think what we need to do is stand together and start protecting our own. And there's numerous of times that I called. Well, the last few times I've called you, I've had people, where I'm at, and you know exactly who I am. But, oh, well, I heard you on Sandra's show, and I'm like, okay, and? What, and? What are you going to do? I have a freedom. I have a mouth. And
Exactly.
I will talk.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, even if you take that from me, what are you going to do? Cut my thumb out of my head? At the end of the day, we need to, it's going on too bad. Because they're quick to backlash yourself or any Caymanian that's trying to move forward and be successful. But other people could come and do whatever they feel like doing. And it's their company and they can do whatever they like and it's within the amendments of the laws, well, then you need to change it. Because then when you have a lot of, then you're going to say, oh, well, you have so many Caymanians on NAU. It's because stuff like this is what you're doing. So I think it's, once bitten, twice shy, and if you do the same thing twice, it becomes a habit.
Thank you so much, caller. I appreciate it.
So, anyway, you have a wonderful day. And
thanks, my dear.
Good work, and be strong on the subject. And for those people who have lost their job, keep your head up. We have, and what the government has to understand is that we have nowhere else to go. There are a lot of Caymanians run and go to England, and they end up coming right back home. And they go, oh, well, I'm going to England. I'm not coming back here. And 6 months later, they're right back here. What happened? Well, it wasn't working out for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they need to remember this Cayman. The other people's favorite word for Caymanians is redundancy. And it needs to stop.
Yes. Thank you, caller. I appreciate it. All right, a few more comments coming in the WhatsApp. This one says, why is there so much work permits in Cayman? Why can't Cayman for once just focus on who is on island? The working community is too saturated with too many people, and companies use it to an advantage to abuse workers. How can an employee be loyal to companies when after 35 years of service be terminated like they weren't valued? Caymanians, wake up. Sandra can't do it alone. We're the people, and the people is the government if we stand together. Wake up, look around you, and think about the next generation of Caymanians. A person goes on to say that work permits are too easy to acquire. Think about it. Not even Canada, which is so underpopulated, work permit system is as easy as Cayman. A person can get a job as a car wash personnel and then working as an electrician without even having a qualified certificate. Immigration system as it is right now is dangerous to the next generation coming up. Well, we don't have to wait for the next generation. It's impacting, a lot of Caymanians right now in a real way. So thank you so much for that. Let me just see here. This person says the whole issue of Fidelity redundancies in Cayman needs to be seriously looked at. in the UK, you just can't throw people out. The Cayman labor law is archaic in that respect and needs to be changed. Too much of this has been happening here while work permits for the same jobs are granted later on. What is really egregious about the Fidelity matter is that the new management is one of the first staff meetings after taking over, advised that there'd be no firing or dismissals within 2 years, and that it says they do it about. I can't quite figure that one out. There's something missing there. Dropped yet. I think something happened towards the end of the message. The do it, but of their mouth hasn't dropped yet. So yeah, I mean, we said that earlier in the program, is that exactly what happened is they had this meeting and they claimed that yes, nothing was going to happen in terms of changes. And it hasn't even been 6 months since they made that grand announcement. And here they are letting go 4 people yesterday or on Wednesday. Sorry, caller.
Yes, ma'am. I know you must be sick of me by now, but let me say something, and I hope somebody else remembers this, beside me. I think it was last year. Some person that works in a bank that, a bank that does kind of foolishness all the time, said that about the charges. The charges don't seem to even have an account at the end of the day for where this money is supposed to go. How it was explained by the person, it seems like you just kept the charges out one side and somebody would collect them at the end of the day, and where that money went to, seems like nobody knows. And I thought that, talking about, can we do anything? Will we do anything? That in itself would have been, as far as I'm concerned, something for SEMA to jump on, something for the minister in charge, 2 ministers in charge of finance, local and international, to jump on. But I didn't hear word one about that. And I know I heard, it sounded like a young guy talk about this going on at one of these, problem institutions we have here, because there seem to be problems going on in the bank. But, when we allow people to know where our vulnerabilities are and they exploit them, that's our own fault. I'm just saying, we elected 19 people, and 19 people can't speak with one voice to say, no, no, no. It's the only word I know. No, you cannot do this and you won't be doing this. I know when Uncle Jim, because Jim as I call him, he used to go around the tarmac and put on his finger like human beings. They would get you right and say, look here, you can go on that bus right then. I know that we did it. So what happened to us? We become so lifeless, so corrupted that we can't talk anymore because these people have something on every striking one of us. But that in itself makes us look, we are weak. It makes us look weak. And it opens the door for people to peer in to see if and where the corruption exists, because it has to be something. Because nobody lets their country go through things like that, except, as you always say, only in the Cayman Islands. But I hope the government this morning is listening, and I hope whomever they have on Media Watch, because if I had a government, I would have a thing called Media Watch. Or Media Listen. What they have on Media Watch this morning is not just taking salient notes, but, recording everything. We don't want notes for this one. And pitch it on the desk where it should be, the 2 or 3 desks where it should be. Because really this is something else. How can we claim to be a country that we finance is our backbone, and then we allow people to throw our people out, not for any illegal decisions that they made, like theft, robbing the bank, robbing the people. Nothing but just going to work probably on time. I would have a problem without going to work on time for 35 years and standing in the gap for 20 odd years. I don't know the people. I don't have to know the people. The principle is wrong. They might not stand for me. They might not open their mouths to me. Yeah. But I cannot stand on the wayside or listen to this and not have a comment. If a comment is, if you have a foundation and a plan for a comment, every one of us should be called. I shouldn't have an opportunity to call you back 2 and 3 times. The entire Cayman Islands should be on your board this morning. You should have brought your board last night, have it installed this morning to change the voices and so on. The whole Cayman Islands, once you're more than 18, should be on your phone's service this morning. Anyway,
thank you, Carl.
Just as everybody else said, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, my dear. I mean, I agree. I mean, even with our technical problems, as you can see, I'm just putting her on speakerphone to allow you all to hear her comments. But the phone line should be lit up this morning. Someone was asking, when are we going to get a toll-free number? Because maybe that's the issue that some of you can't get. Anthony says, any plans to have a toll-free number? Well, Anthony, we had reached out to my friends over at Flow. And what I can tell you is the problem that we were having over there, that problem has since removed itself. So the marketing manager is no longer at Flow, who didn't want to do anything with CMR. So we're going to pray to the telecom people now. We may finally be able to sort something out. I'm not sure, but I think the Horizons things look a little bit better now that she's no longer there. I mean, it's just shocking how this goes to the point again. Within organizations, you can have one person who's going to dictate to that organization, this is how it's going to go. And everybody else is sitting back, allowing it to happen when it makes no sense. When you look at the numbers, it's something that would benefit Flow even. I mean, it just, all I can tell you is now we can, Anthony, to answer your question, approach it again from the perspective of maybe we can actually get it resolved now. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. So Kevin is in the background. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing today? I know you're
okay. I know you have your news segment that you'd like to play.
Yes.
I'm not sure people are going to be able to hear it is the problem.
Yeah, but so we're going to try to test live, huh?
Yeah, we're going to have to test it. So do you want to test it now, or do people want an update on yesterday's show? Because I've got an amazing update on yesterday's show. Was the man with the shipping company, or not really shipping company. He's an agent. And so I want to tell y'all what the real deal is with that situation. Which would you like to do first, Kevin? News, or you want me to wrap up with,
let's do the test real quick. And
okay. So folks, if you're, I guess people, I can't listen on radio, so I don't know if radio people can hear it or not, but if you're listening to the radio and you can hear this, just shoot me a WhatsApp message. You guys have my WhatsApp number. Let me know if you can actually hear the news segment, because Kevin's going to try to pull it in from his end to see if that audio will be heard. So go ahead, Kevin. Let's see how it goes.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. 25-year-old Charles Leonard Walton III, who was arrested by the police after he was listed as wanted last December, is again wanted by the police. Police told CMR that in January, they issued a wanted bulletin for him, but it was due to a matter that was before the court at that time. However, that matter has been completed in the court, and he has since been released from custody. Police added the current wanted bulletin is in relation to a new matter and that he is wanted for firearms offenses. A police statement said he is known to be violent and is believed to be armed and dangerous. He is approximately 6 feet 4 inches tall with dreadlocks and was last known to be living in Prospect. Police say he should not be approached and to immediately call 911 upon seeing him. A second man who is considered armed and dangerous is wanted by the police. 27-year-old Luisto Eusebio Hernandez joined Charles Walton III on the police wanted list. He was last known to be living in East End and is also wanted by the police for firearms offenses. Once again, police say he should not be approached and to call 911 upon seeing him. Now, police wanted to remind the public that according to the law, it is an offense to obstruct, mislead, or act in such a way as to prevent the apprehension of a person who committed an offense. If prosecuted under this section, a person may be liable on conviction to a fine of $5,000 or imprisonment for 2 years or both. And now to missing men. While they are not wanted, police continue to look for 2 missing men. 53-year-old Noel Paul Manning has been missing since June 24th, and 26-year-old Adrian Williamson has been missing since July 6th. Police say contact your nearest police station if you see or know the whereabouts of the missing men. Anonymous tips can be provided directly to the RCIPS via their confidential tip line at 949-7777 or via their website. An appeal by Wayne Miles to have a drug conviction and a lengthy sentence of 11 years overturned has been denied by the Cayman Islands Court of Appeal. Now, Miles had numerous drug charges over the past few years, and he was also convicted for 6 pimping charges in 2019. Fidelity Bank immediately terminated 4 senior Caymanian managers on Wednesday afternoon, forcing them to clear out their desks without even allowing them to say goodbye to colleagues that they worked with for over 30 years. The ordeal has left staff shocked and in tears. The surprising turn of events came just months after the bank was acquired by Proven Investments Limited. Staff is shocked at the redundancies after they were promised by the new CEO that there would be no staff changes for at least 2 years. Included in the redundancies is the Vice President of Operations, who has worked with the company for 34 years, the Assistant Manager of Operations, who has been with Fidelity for some 35 years, the Banking Retail Manager was at Fidelity for some 23 years, and the final person to be cut has only been with the company for 3 years as the Remediation Manager. In addition, the West Bay branch is expected to close down, and staff also complained that work permit holders have been brought in as project managers but are, in fact, doing sales. The staff has noted that the new project managers are making high commissions, whilst the Caymanian staff referring customers are only paid $100. The Owen Roberts International Airport was evacuated after a fire alarm went off. The Cayman Islands Fire Service responded to check the source of the alarm. CMR has reached out to the Cayman Islands Airports Authority for a statement, but haven't received one as yet. Those who would like to fly non-stop from Grand Cayman to Los Angeles International Airport can now book their reservations. In celebration of the launch, Cayman Airways is offering an enticing special round-trip introductory fare as low as US $399 for travel booked by August 8th. Cayman Airways' new non-stop West Coast service will operate weekly from Grand Cayman starting Saturday, November 5th and returns from Los Angeles on Sundays. Inbound flight time is just 5.5 hours. The Cayman Islands Los Angeles route will operate year-round once weekly. For more details and to book a reservation, visit www.caymanairways.com or call Cayman Airways Reservations on 949-2311. More information on each of these stories can be found at caymanmallroad.com. Now for your CMR weather update, it's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 5:58. Sunshine and clouds will be mixed. The temperature rises to the high 80s, but it will feel much hotter than that. Now, some of you may not know this, and if you don't, here's a quick lesson. If the high temperature is at 89 degrees Fahrenheit, like we have going on, and the relative humidity is at 72%, The temperature will feel like 103 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the real field temperature. Now for the winds, it's going to be between 10 and 20 miles per hour, and the sun sets at 7:05. When it cools at nighttime, the temperature falls to the low 80s. High tides at 5:39 a.m. and 7:12 p.m. and the low tides at 12:38 a.m. and again at 12:12 p.m. Looking forward, similar weather conditions are expected. We do expect an increase in rain chances over the weekend. Remember, it's summertime, so hot days and warm nights with brief scattered showers are very typical for this time of year. CMR weather updates are brought to you by WG Charters. They offer private boat trips for a great price, so we encourage you to support them. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thanks for joining me. Please be safe and God bless.
All right, folks. So as it turns out, the radio feed has disappeared in any event. Looks like some online issues there. Not really sure what's going on, but I'm aware. Looks like it has just come back. I see it now, but it's probably too late to reconnect. But anyway, okay, so bizarre. But I wanted to definitely update you guys before we end the program today. What essentially happened on should not, because pretty much the show's over anyway, but what happened yesterday. So listen, this is the bottom line in relation to the shipping situation. So we kept digging and we talked to more people and we were digging and we were digging. You know, I'm like a little what's that little creature, Kevin, that does a lot of digging? I mean, I know a lot of animals dig, but there's one who, yes, I'm like a little groundhog, child. Came out in version of the groundhog. We just keep digging and digging and digging. This is the bottom line. I'm all about managing expectations. If you know what you're getting, then you can deal with it. If you set folks money with independent shipping, aka Mr. Rowan Cardoza, you might as well forget about that shipment. Yesterday, Mr. Rowan, I know a lot of you were taking a position that, oh yes, he told us the truth. And, you know, Seaboard had made a mistake. I tell you what, Mr. Rowan told us half of the story. The reason why he wouldn't answer a lot of my other questions, including was it Seaboard, was that he didn't want me to keep digging because he must have heard about the cold hard truth, CMR or myself, to know that when I keep digging, eventually you get to the bottom of shit and you get to the truth. Despite his reluctance to provide me with information, y'all know how it goes, child. We got sources, eyes and ears all over the place. And what I would say, in any event, is he's not being honest with the people for a reason. I can't tell you what he's trying to accomplish. But in fact, he this matter is 100% his fault. Seaboard made a clerical error, but here how the Seaboard route works. The Seaboard container, the route goes Cayman, Kingston to Montego Bay. It is not a big deal, although they made a clerical error for it to just go to Kingston, for them to re-pick up that container, put it back on the ship, and take it from Kingston to Montego Bay. They're in the shipping business. So even though the clerical error had its final destination as Kingston, that would have been zilch, zero, nada for them in terms of effort to move it from Kingston to Montego Bay. Except for the fact that this man owed the company really in Jamaica a lot of money. Now, why does he owe them so much money? Had he acted with a degree of expediency, this would have never happened. It looks like, and I can't say what was going on with this man, but the sources that are close to him that know what he's been going on with, it looks like he decided to leave Cayman not even leave Cayman. What he did was he ghosted not just his customers, but everyone in relation to the shipment. Why? I don't know. The ship left in December. It's supposed to hopefully get there by Christmas. I think that's why a lot of people are sending their items. He disappeared for months on end. And during that time of him not tending to his business affairs, every single day, storage fees for this container being in Jamaica sitting on the dock, and all these other demurrage fees, whatever the heck they call them, are accruing. And he does nothing. So when he's telling you like he's trying to work it out with them and, you know, his lawyers are on it, all that is a bold-faced lie. That's why he couldn't tell us who his lawyers are. Because, you know, I know a lot of people in the legal profession. Which lawyer, sir? He has dropped the ball, and I don't know how he intends to fix this. Because if the container is still there, and that's a big if, because they may have already taken the container and sold off everything in it to collect what fees that they could, it might have already gone to auction. So all of you who sent stuff with this man, I'm trying to manage your expectations here. You're not getting that stuff back. And it's not arriving to anybody in Montego Bay or anywhere else. Why the man couldn't just tell us this yesterday, only God knows. He dropped the ball. He let down his customers. He was non-communicado with everybody. Because had he, you got to go back and listen to the conversation yesterday that we had with Seaboard. Had he actually told Seaboard within days that, oh my gosh, what is this container doing in Kingston? This is a problem. It's supposed to go to Montego Bay and I've got people waiting to unload it, blah, 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 blah. Within 48 hours, they could have moved the container from Kingston to Mobay and it would have not been an issue. I've heard he went missing for 4-5 months completely and nobody knew what was going on. So all the fees now that have accrued over that time, he's trying to put the blame on Seaboard, saying, oh, it's because they sent to the wrong destination. That's why you pick sense from nonsense. You hear what Seaboard said? The destination has nothing to do with it. Because even if it went to Mobay, even if it went to Montego Bay, and he made it sit there for 5 or 6 months, he can still have to pay storage fees. That's why the young man, and I thank him because he really didn't tell us any personal business about this man. But his point being, the location that it goes to does not matter. If you're not paying storage fees in Montego Bay or Kingston, right, for 5 or 6 months, you're not going to pay him in Montego Bay for 5 or 6 months either. So it's not the location that was the issue. It was that this man sat back and disappeared. I don't know if he was on vacation or what the hell he was doing. Did nothing in relation to the shipment. You cannot do that. When you're in business and you're moving people's goods, it is your job as a shipper, a shipping agent, to ensure that you understand logistics. So if a mistake was made, there's something called mitigation. You do your part to mitigate, to stop the continuation of damage and issues immediately. And he did not do that. And now he's trying to put the blame on Seaboard, thinking, oh, they have deep pockets, so let them deal with it. I can tell you, I don't care how deep Seaboard's pockets are. Because now you're talking about December, this is month 8, 9 months later, the container may not even be available. The Jamaican authorities may have already auctioned it off. It might be gone. So if you sent your stuff with this man in December of last year, you need to contact him about how he intends to financially reimburse you for those goods. Because this narrative that, oh, he has a lawyer that's on it and somebody's working on it for him and blah, 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 is a bunch of cockamamie. No lawyer can help him now. And he not got no lawyer. They can't do anything. The lawyer hasn't been in contact with anybody. That's all a bold-faced lie. And that has just been an excuse to try to delay the inevitable. He needs to step up to the plate, admit his mistake, and find the money to reimburse almost 50 people for all the stuff that they sent via his shipping agency, his shipping company to Jamaica. That's the bottom line. Olive says, I told you he was lying. Yeah, he thought that he could tell us half truths and we would just accept that on the face of it. But obviously he don't know.
You know, Sandy, what this should be going to, it should be going to DCI and have them suspend those business licenses he has, because obviously he is completely not doing good business, and that's in their remit.
Yeah. And see what Jonathan says? Remember when I kept asking him what he was going to do? He's talking about the Lord going to do it for him. I was like, well, faith without works, what the hell is that? So he's delusional at this stage. He's in denial. And instead of him just be honest with people, listen, Kevin, I'm a small business owner and things happen. Sometimes things happen outside of our control. I'm trying to deliver for my customers, but if somebody in the chain of, supply chain messes up, but ultimately I have to be held accountable as a business owner to my clients. And if you're not honest about your contribution, which is the real problem here, to where this situation is and why, 8 months later, people can't get their stuff, no amount of praying in the world is going to resolve this. That's not how God works. So it's unfortunate. And I think DCI, unfortunately, doesn't ever do anything about situations like this.
Well, let's
Strong Will says
let's
yes.
Find out from DCI, when things like this happen, not talking about a specific case, but hypothetically give them a scenario. What does DCI or what will DCI do about it? And then
they don't do nothing. Yeah. They have had people such as what's the guy's name again? Rob, Garfield Rob. He's in court again today. Somebody's suing him civilly. He's got criminal charges. This man has been out there without a business license. Operating. And the DCI had complaints about him defrauding people and all sorts of stuff, and they did nothing with his business license. Nothing. And this is where people say, well, what help are we supposed to get from the people? No, sir. I don't know. Jared says, yes, they're going to tell him it's a civil matter. Strong Will says, morning, Sandy. That's how they get killed. They're too crooked. What y'all need to do now is ensure that you get your money from this man. So next week, Thursday, because we're setting Thursday aside for sort of a consumer Thursday day, what we will do is I will actually go through the process in detail of how you need to use the small claims court system here in the Cayman Islands. A lot of you think there isn't a small claims court. There is. It's just not called the same thing as it is in the U.S.
It's not Judge Judy or Judge Joe Brown, but it is Cayman Islands' version of small claims court.
So I'm going to walk you guys through it step by step in detail, what it is that you need to do when you want to sue someone to get your money back. That'll be next week, Thursday. So mark on your calendar. Jonathan says he can't tell the people he lost their stuff, and he's going to be in the free and clear because none of these people ever got a recipe, right? And the sad thing is receipt. And the sad thing is that's part of the problem. They didn't take pictures or a detailed list of what was there. So they could claim anything was in the shipment and he could claim it wasn't. I mean, it's just one of those situations. And that's another issue with these consolidated shipments. And we are going to be reaching out to CBC to find out when containers are leaving Cayman. Is there anyone who is itemizing what is being taken out of this country? Because, that's a whole, even from the perspective of theft and other things, that's a whole area of concern. So the CBC on their manifest have what was in that container, because it's a consolidated container from like 50 different people. And so he loads the container, customs has to inspect it before it's sealed and it leaves the jurisdiction. But are they inspecting it from the perspective like, okay, this pallet in the container has a sofa, one thing of Tide detergent? Like, who is doing that if it's being done at all? I mean, I suspect it's not even being done. So there'd be no real way for these people to know what was in the shipment and what they should even get reimbursed for, because unfortunately, a lot of them were not itemizing their list. They didn't take any pictures of the shipment, like nothing. So this is a real hot mess. This man better do more than pray. He needs to go and find some money to pay these people back. That's the short of it. Jonathan says that he'll not see one day in court. And he's counting on that poor people, don't even have the resources to take into small claims court, and nothing will be done. Y'all better unite and do something. Because right now, he should be voluntarily relinquishing. That's what I said to him yesterday. Maybe he shouldn't be in this business. He should be voluntarily relinquishing his business license and come out of the shipping business, because this is an egregious error that he has made. We'll find out from Customs, Albert. He said there should be documentation listing items and value being shipped. We'll see. We will see. Anyway, folks, that's it. I think my voice is done for the day. Kevin, thank you. I'm going to try to get my board. I need help. It's a lot different than the other board. So I need to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I might have to call the company to help me customize all my settings. But hopefully by Monday, we'll be back up with the phone lines. I know my sound pads work. Yeah. I got all that part done, but it's like the faders and everything. I just couldn't get it where, you could hear more than just me. So I'm going to get some tech help in that regard today.
Well,
all right, Kevin.
Have a beautiful day, Sandy. I'll talk to you later. Cayman Islands. Have a wonderful weekend. And stay blessed, okay? Take care.
Good.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.